This is an archive edition of Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. The Surf Ballroom opened in Clear Lake in 1933. It was a huge draw for people who loved music and loved to dance. In the 1940s, the biggest names in big band music played the surf, including Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Glenn Miller, and many regional bands. The surf burned down in 1947, but was rebuilt and reopened across the road. The 1950s brought rock and roll to the surf.
If you knew Peggy Sue, then you know why I feel blue without Peggy, my Peggy Sue. Oh, well, I love you, Gally.
And on February 2nd, 1959, the Winter Dance Party came to town with Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. Richardson, better known as the Big Bopper. You probably know how this story ends. Buddy Holly chartered a plane. Valens and Richardson went along for the ride. The plane crashed in the early morning hours of February 3rd, and all were killed. It is now known as the day the music died. Over the years that have followed, the surf has had good times and bad. Most of the other small ballrooms in the country have closed, but it has also become a mecca for music fans wanting to touch a piece of history. The surf has long been part ballroom, part museum, but now they have their own state-of-the-art museum. The Surf Ballroom Music Experience Center, right across the street, opened in September of 2025, and we are here today standing in the lobby to check it out. With me is Pete Potts, Director of Marketing and Public Relations for the Surf Ballroom. Hello, Pete.
Hi, nice to be here.
It's wonderful to talk to you. Jeff Nicholas is also here. He is president of the North Iowa Cultural Center and Museum, a nonprofit organization responsible for preserving and operating the surf. He is also a farmer who owns the land where that plane crash happened. Jeff, hello.
Good morning. We are so excited that you all are here. We have so much to show you and so much new stuff here at the Surf. We're excited to welcome the world to Clear Lake, Iowa this week for the annual Winter Dance Party and to showcase this new both static and interactive museum that we have that tells the story of American music.
Well, and Pete, maybe I'll let you tell me, as you've been involved in getting this open and getting this on the ground, what was the vision for the Music Experience Center?
So the vision of the Music Experience Center is to sort of be the center of the story. It sets the foundation. It talks about the history of the surf ballroom and the music as it relates to the surf, its evolution from big band all the way through really kind of the first rock and roll act that came, which was February 2nd, Winter Dance Party.
So we walk into the Music Experience Center and immediately we start to see cases holding memorabilia. And you don't just focus on that fateful night on February 2nd, but you also have artifacts that take us back to the big band era. I think a lot of people know that Lawrence Welk grew up in North Dakota and his band was a regional band that traveled the region. So you start us off with a Lawrence Welk accordion.
Yeah, we've acquired this, and in fact, Lawrence Welk had a chain of restaurants called The Accordion, and there was one in Mason City for a long time. I don't remember that. I think it was gone before I got big enough to experience too much stuff over there. But Lawrence Welk, as everybody knows, is such a huge part of our upbringing here in the Midwest. Everybody can remember having their grandparents maybe require them to sit and watch Lawrence
A
Welk
one
show.
and a two and a three.
And Bobby and the Susie. Yeah.
All right, so we do have a little bit of the big band beginnings and then the rise of rock and roll. And you have really, in this part of the museum, but also elsewhere, some incredible artifacts that connect us to Buddy Holly, to Ritchie Valens, to the Big Bopper. Tell me a little bit about how you connect people to Buddy Holly.
So we intentionally wanted to help people connect to these stars as people. They were just young adults when this happened. So we wanted them to get to know them, how they arrived on the scene, how they ended up on the Winter Dance Party, who were they as people. We've got a letter that Buddy wrote to his mom and dad. You know, each case has something very personal that belonged to that star. We've got Buddy's cufflinks, we've got Ritchie's wallet, and we've got the Bopper's briefcase, all of which were recovered from the crash. So we really wanted people to know who these people were, to bring it home, to make it feel personal so that they feel like they can step into history and walk alongside these stars.
Yeah, Ritchie Valens' wallet is such a poignant artifact because he made it in shop class in high school.
He did. He made that wallet in shop class. If you visit the museum and you take a good look, you'll see that he wrote his name in ink on the wallet. Once it was recovered, it was returned to the Valens family, and his mother carried that on her person until she died. And then they graciously loaned it to us. Inside are tucked his mother's little bits and pieces of receipts, and there's a stamp in there, and we all agreed that that was the place for them to live.
Of course, you also have one of Ritchie Valens' guitars. Are these song lyrics?
Yes, those are song lyrics to La Bamba. And the interesting thing about the guitar is they didn't have a lot of resources when he was young, and so he went out and bought the guitar for $10, but didn't like the color. And he wanted to paint it, so he'd spent all his money on the guitar. He didn't have any money to buy paint. So he sanded it down in shop class, and he went home and he found a quart of paint that was about a third full in their garage. And so he had it all sanded down and all cleaned up, and he painted it, and I believe they call that Oldsmobile green.
It's gorgeous.
It's a beautiful guitar. Then he had a guitar like that for the rest of his career, but that's how he got his first guitar.
Well, and it's also so poignant. He was so young. He was only 17 years old, and we think about that
Just a
drive
child.
and the imagination that he'd already shown,
Right.
and being a Latino artist breaking in at that moment. It's really a profound story. And we've got the case about the Big Bopper.
Chantilly lace and a pretty face and a ponytail hanging down, a wiggle in the walk and a giggle in the talk. Make the world go round.
Briefcase was with the Bopper on the plane, and I may get a little emotional telling the story, but JP, his son, was not alive when they played on the Winter Dance Party. His mother was 6 months pregnant with him, and so he never personally knew his dad, but he came to the Surf a number of times. We find the people that were affected the most by what happened in that situation find the most peace when they come back. Now, there was a period of time right afterwards, Ritchie Valens' sisters talk about it, where Iowa was that cold, dark place that took their brother. But once they got to the point where they felt like they wanted to come back, they came back and they realized the hospitality of the Surf and of Clear Lake welcomed them in. Maria Elena is the same way, Buddy's widow. She just loved to come to Clear Lake because it was, as they all say, it was the last place where our loved ones were making people happy and doing what they loved to do. And so the Bopper Jr. presented that to the Surf on stage at the 50th anniversary, and he held it up, and tears were streaming down his face, and he just said, the family just decided that this has been in a closet for 35 or 40 years, and we decided it needs to come back so the fans can see it. So that's when they gave that to us, and we're just so blessed to be able to have that.
So you have other artifacts as well. There's the camera that captured the photos of that night. You've got one of Don McLean's gold records from American Pie, which of course was released in 1971. The song that made sure that this story really endured. And we know that although these were the three big stars, that there were other musicians there that night, including Waylon Jennings, including Tommy Alsop. And there's this crazy story about Waylon and Buddy saying goodbye for the last time. Could you tell us that, Jeff?
We had Waylon here. I started kind of with the Surf back in fall of 94 and into 95. And I always thought that Waylon should come back, should come to the Surf. And everybody I talked to about it said, he's always said he'll never come back. He's kind of was haunted about that night. And I said, well, they're going to have to turn us down. So, because we're going to invite him. So we invited through his management, and he decided to come. And when he got here, we had all kinds of media that wanted to talk to him, to interview him. And he and I had an interview in the cafe, and we sat down and we talked about that. And the very first question was, we always have heard the story of yours and Buddy's last exchange. And he agreed to answer that question, and he says it wasn't until about 15 years later that I picked up a Life magazine, opened it up, and they were having some commemorative thing about music, and I saw pictures of the actual crash that I really began to process it. Well, the story is that they chartered the plane, okay, and there weren't quite enough seats on the plane, and Waylon ended up with a seat on the plane, and they chartered the plane because the bus heater was breaking and the bus was breaking down. It was early in February in the Midwest, and it was bitterly cold. I've had guys that were on that tour tell me about, they said they lay blankets down, and then somebody would lay down, and they'd lay blankets on that person, and then somebody lay on that person, just to keep warm. So their last exchange in the band room before they went out and got in the station wagon.
And Waylon Jennings had given his seat.
He had given his
to
seat.
J.P. Richardson because he was sick.
Right, because he had given. So they were kind of jawing back and forth and giving each other a bad time. And Buddy says to Waylon, well, I hope the bus breaks down. And Waylon says, well, I hope that old plane crashes. And so the last words he said to Buddy Holly were, I hope your plane crashes. And so he says that haunted him till his grave, because he actually was living with Buddy and Marie at the time. Buddy had taken Waylon under his wing, had produced a couple records for him, and so they had a great relationship. And to be honest with you, that crash affected all the people that were on that tour, had lifetime effects.
We are standing today in the Surf Ballroom Music Experience Center. It opened in September of 2025, and it's right next door to the existing Surf Ballroom. We're going to head over there in a little while, but right now we are looking at the museum and the artifacts that tell the story of this ballroom and also the story of the day the music died, February 3rd, 1959. With me, Pete Potts, Director of Marketing and Public Relations at the Surf Ballroom, and Jeff Nicholas, President of North Iowa Cultural Center and Museum. We will continue our conversation in just a moment. This is Talk of Iowa from IPR News.
You know it's a lie, 'cause that'll be the day when I die.
This is an archive edition of Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. Today we are in Clear Lake. We came here for the Surf Ballroom, but right now we're next door at what is called the Surf Ballroom Music Experience Center. It is a brand new museum and venue that opened in September of 2025. And in the lobby of the center, there are artifacts that tell the story of the ballroom, but also tell the story of what happened on February 2nd, 1959 at the Winter Dance Party when Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. Richardson, better known as the Big Bopper, performed. After that performance, those three men took a chartered flight out of Clear Lake, and that flight crashed. They were all killed. February 3rd has been known for some time now as the day the music died. With me, Jeff Nicholas. He's president of North Iowa Cultural Center and Museum, which is a nonprofit responsible for preserving and operating the surf. Also, Pete Potts is here, Director of Marketing and Public Relations at the Surf Ballroom. And you guys have so many really incredible artifacts. This whole wall over here is filled with guitars. We also have the stand-up bass that was played by the Crickets with Buddy Holly. But I want to focus our attention on your immersive, interactive experience. But before we walk in there, and it's called Not Fade Away, of course, lyrics from Buddy Holly's song. Before we walk in there, there is a guitar here that had the signature of Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper on it, although those signatures have almost disappeared. Pete, can you tell me about this guitar?
Absolutely. So this came to us from a generous loan from the Pritchard family. They acquired it from someone who, at some point along the route of the 1959 Winter Dance Party, someone went out and bought a very basic level guitar with the intention to get it signed. And they met all the stars, and they got each one of them to sign it, the Bopper, Ritchie, and Buddy. And and there's only one of a kind. I mean, there's nothing else like
Yeah.
it. So it's right here in our museum.
Wow.
And it's kind of emblematic of everything here. I mean, that song is Not Fade Away. I mean, it was one of the first covers that the Rolling Stones released in the United States. The Grateful Dead played it over 400 times. They either would start their concerts or finish their concerts with it. I mean, it's just, everybody's covered it. And that's what we're about here. We've got this story, we've got this building and this history, and we're going to make sure that it never fades away. So everything that we do in this building is to enhance the experience and the education and to promote our golden jewel, the Surf Ballroom.
Let's walk into your theater here. And again, this is the Not Fade Away experience. And the museum experience continues when you step in through this door. You have saved a couple of your really most incredible
really
artifacts for this space.
Our prized possessions here are the first is a stage-worn jacket of Buddy's. It's a red corduroy jacket. It was last worn in Buddy wore it in San Antonio, Texas, and we acquired that. And it is also in a case with, believe it or not, the actual microphone that Buddy sang in at the Surf Ballroom in his last concert. And we've just acquired this recently, and it's just an incredible piece of music history.
And you also have a necktie and clothing label from the Big Bopper's wardrobe as well.
From the Big Bopper and from Ritchie Valens.
This space is for people who are waiting in line. And you get them a little excited about heading into the space. I'm curious. I mean, you opened in September. We are here on a January day. It's very cold, and this is before your big winter dance party festivities really get going. But what were things like in September, Pete, when you guys opened?
It was a smashing success. We are not a big town here in Clear Lake, but we had over 2,000 people come through the experience, and everyone was raving about it as they came out. It was nothing that they expected. They were just blown away. So we were thrilled to be able to provide that to the community.
And the immersive experience that's just around the corner. What was your vision for that, Jeff?
Well, the idea was we started out thinking we were just going to do everything static pieces, and we do have some of that because there's so much good stuff out there that people are coming to us now with stuff and saying, hey, I've got this. I think it should be at the Surf, and we absolutely love that. But we started talking with some people, museum people, and they're saying, well, there's kind of this emerging technology that's kind of taking root around the country, and it's the immersive, interactive, and the audio and the digital stuff. And young people have a tendency to consume their information different than the rest of us. And so we thought we'd have a nice blend of static and then the interactive, where you've got the floors flashing and notes follow you around the floor and the wall and the screen, and music that motivates you and inspires you, and then to tell the story. But then when we get done here, then we take them over and we tell them the story about the Surf, and then we go over and show them the real deal.
Yeah.
And it really works out well. It's a good way to do it.
Well, and I'm sure that for many years, people who love music, fans of all three of the performers who died that night, this has been a pilgrimage for people for a really long time. But you could also assume for a long time that everyone who bothered to take the time to come already knew that story. But you're drawing in a different audience now. You're telling the story.
Right. We're telling the story, and it's part of it to see that the story never fades away. But it's and also part of it that there are a lot of inaccuracies and discrepancies on the story. So it's not like we're trying to get the story straight, but it's just nice to have a good, consistent telling of the story to people, music fans from around the country that come.
Yeah, well, and you're also telling the story of these small ballrooms that were everywhere in the country and have largely disappeared.
Yeah. And we love the big band. We still have a big band series in the summer. We have country and western. We have blues. We have all kinds of stuff. And so it's really the sound stage of American music.
Well, let's walk into this space. We go behind a curtain into a dark space, and it's not just what happens on the screen that we can stand and look at, but you really do surround people with images and information in here.
Yeah, we really do. I tell people if you leave here and have not experienced standing in knee-deep water in the ocean, or you don't feel like you stood out on a snow-covered field, then you've missed a lot. And it's not the kind of presentation where you go right up and you stand there and you focus on the front screen like a television show. It's all around you. It's on the floor. It's on the walls, and there's music. And we even are getting very, very close to getting a scent of what you would feel like, and we're trying to decide.
You're gonna pump a scent in here?
Yeah, well, we're gonna pump, and somebody said we ought to pump the scent of an old time rock and roll show in, and I thought, I don't want that.
That sounds sweaty.
Right, it does. So very soon you'll be able to come in here, and during the show you'll be able to have a nice pineapple Caribbean scent just spread out through. So
because
it's
Clear
all your
Lake is a
senses.
tropical place.
Yep, absolutely.
Welcome to the legendary Surf Ballroom's Music Experience Center. The surf story is rich with history, hoop, and heartache, but above all, it's a celebration of music. I'm Slim Jim Phantom, your rockabilly buddy and host. Come on, let's rock, let's roll, let's reminisce.
We did stand and watch Not Fade Away, the video presentation that surrounded us in this beautiful room.
We out here in the Midwest couldn't have all kinds of beautiful entertainment, and then the Surf Ballroom came along and we had the big name bands. We really thought we were something.
And we learned about the big bands, and we learned about the coming of rock and roll, and we learned about that winter dance party and that terrible night.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin. 3 young singers who soared to the heights of show business on the current rock and roll craze were killed today in the crash of a light plane in an Iowa snow flurry. The singers were identified as Ritchie Valens, 17, Buddy Holly, 22, and J.P. Richardson, known professionally as the Big Bopper. Roger Peterson of Clear Lake, Iowa, was also killed.
And also how the Surf Ballroom did not prosper in the years that followed as arena rock really took over. When the show is over, people in the audience have an opportunity to walk right up to the wall and touch different pictures on the wall and learn about different things. So right now I could learn about Chuck Berry, Santana, Dwight Yoakam, Dodie Stevens. We can swipe through and learn more about the surf burning down, the new one being built, the ballroom later closing and being reopened as well. We can learn about some of the big bands, Doris Day and Les Brown. That bubble just disappeared. We can learn about stories from the green room at the Surf Ballroom, and of course you can visit that in real life as well. But there's so much to see.
This is really our Surf Ballroom archive. This is where you can come and take the deep dive and find out about all the people that have played here over the years and a lot of the different things that have happened here at the Surf. So this is kind of our library, our archive here at the Surf Ballroom.
Well, and I can imagine kids and adults standing here for
Absolutely.
a long time exploring all of these different buttons, although I bet when you're really busy there's a line.
Yeah.
So as you exit this theater, you have more of your incredible treasures. Pete, do you want to tell me what we find out here?
Absolutely. This is our Les Paul collection. Thanks in large part, almost entire part, to our generous partner, Jim Wysocki. So as everybody knows, Les Paul was an incredible innovator in music, especially in guitars. We have some gold top guitars, and actually a gold top guitar that he himself played. If you're a guitar nerd, please come and visit this. It'll be nirvana for you. We have the original prototype that he created.
Les Paul invented the electric guitar.
Les Paul invented the electric guitar. And so he experimented with how to amplify that sound. So if you come to our museum, you're going to see a prototype that's called the Log, because that's sort of what it looks like. It's a 2x4 with some screws and some wire in it. And we have this prototype, and there's another one that postdates it by about 8 months. So there's one here, and the other one is in the Smithsonian.
Wow. Now, Les Paul never performed here.
He did not.
But of course, he made it possible for all of those other acts that performed.
Absolutely, he did.
here.
Rock and roll and music in general would not look and sound like what it does today without
Wow.
somebody like Les Paul.
So, yeah, this is an incredible music history in this space. Pete, it's a museum. You've got this incredible not fade away experience, but this is also a venue. It's an event center. Tell me a little bit about all the other stuff that is part of this experience.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got a brand new state-of-the-art hospitality suite. So when you go over to the old Surf, you'll see that old green room with the signatures all on the wall. It's beautiful part of history, not a lot of amenities.
Not super
Here
comfy,
we've
yeah.
got some sofas and, some places to sit and drink and relax and take a shower and all those kinds of things. When that's not in use, when there's not a show, those are classrooms for our Surf Music Academy. So you walk in and you might hear somebody's playing drums, and then there's a group piano lesson, and then someone's taking voice lessons. So talk about where the music lives. That's where the next generation is picking up the baton and carrying it on. And upstairs we have this Palms Ballroom. We rent that out for all kinds of things. There will be some events up there for the Winter Dance Party. And in the summer when it's nice and warm, we have a beautiful patio, a rooftop cabana.
And this is inspired by the original Surf.
Absolutely, where you could dance under the stars. There was rooftop garden. So you can go up there, you can have a drink and sit on the patio and watch the sunset.
Beautiful. And this is not the end of the vision. I know that you've gotten a lot of grants, invested a lot of money in making this happen to really draw people and to keep this story alive. But there are hopes of building this legacy in Clear Lake even further. What is the vision for the future?
Well, a couple of things that we're doing. The first thing is we are in the process. Hopefully by this summer, we'll have a life-size bronze sculptures of Buddy, Ritchie, and the Bopper right out here in front of the Music Experience Center. And then there will be groundbreaking for a new hotel, a boutique hotel right kitty corner across the street that just adds more to the district. We also are in the process of adding a kind of a lakefront connection so people can come to the Surf by boat and come to dinner here, come to a concert here, come to the museum here, and travel to and from by boat. And so this that'll be put in this summer. So we just got lots and lots of great stuff.
Well, I so appreciate you guys showing us around this part of the Surf Ballroom experience. But we are going to walk across the street in just a minute and actually visit the Surf Ballroom.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go.
We took a short but cold walk next door to the Surf Ballroom. Employees were outside changing the marquee to include the first events of the annual Winter Dance Party celebration. We walked into the outer lobby with fake palm trees and a tropical motif, but it was when we walked through the next door. That's when the magic of the surf really started to do its work. Oh, wow. And it is like stepping back in time. Jeff, the Surf Ballroom has been through a lot of iterations over the years, and it actually closed in the 1990s. And you were part of this group that managed to bring the surf back and restore it. So tell me about this restoration. When we walk in, is this supposed to feel like 1959?
Absolutely. This feels just exactly like it did when the guys walked in here in 1959. The real heroes, I mean, there are lots of heroes here. The community of all of North Iowa and the city of Clear Lake and the chamber and the people of Clear Lake, but the real heroes are the Snyder family, the Dean Snyder family that own a construction business in Clear Lake. And they were the ones that purchased it in the fall of 1994. And at the time it was kind of old and tired, and at that time when it rained outside, it rained inside, and it had kind of fallen on a hard time. So they did a bunch of research, and when they bought it, the pineapples on the wall were gone, and they researched it and put the pineapples back on the wall, got the carpet back to the way it looked, refurbished the dance floor, put a new roof on the building. cleaned up all the booths. This place looks just like it did when it was built in 48 and the guys played here in 59.
Wow. And we're standing next to the coat check right now. I'm guessing it wasn't $1 per coat in 1959.
It was cheaper than that. However, you can still check your coat for
Nice.
$1. All of that signage is original, including the note about fur coats being checked at the owner's risk. So when you come to the Winter Dance Party or any other show, if you have a coat, you could come in, give us $1. We'll hang up your coat and give you the little tag, just like happened even back in the 30s and 40s.
Nice. I'm at the Surf Ballroom in Clear Lake with Pete Potts, Director of Marketing and Public Relations, and Jeff Nicholas, President of the North Iowa Cultural Center and Museum. More in a moment. This is Talk of Iowa from IPR News.
Come on, let's go, little darling. Let's go, let's go again.
You're listening to an archive edition of Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe. Today, I'm in Clear Lake at the Surf Ballroom. The surf has been a part of Clear Lake in one form or another since 1933. At its height, it hosted some of the biggest names in music and has a long, rich history. But it was a night of tragedy that made the Surf Ballroom the attraction that it is today.
Seems so easy, seems so easy, seems so easy. Oh, so doggone easy, doggone easy, doggone easy. It seems so easy, seems so easy, seems so easy, seems so easy. Where you're concerned.
On February 2nd, 1959, the Winter Dance Party came to town. That night, Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and the Big Bopper performed. After the performance, the three men boarded a chartered flight that never reached its destination. The memory of the day the music died has been bringing music lovers to the surf for decades, and the ballroom has been largely restored to what it looked like that night in 1959. Jeff Nicholas, president of the North Iowa Cultural Center and Museum, that's the nonprofit organization responsible for preserving and operating the surf, and Pete Potts, director of marketing and public relations for the surf, are showing me around.
I do want to point out we have the original phone that was here that Buddy used to call Maria Elena just before he left the surf. And we when we first put this little placard up explaining that, we had some people email us and say, "Hey, he never called. You can't say that. He never called." And so what happened is the next morning, an AP story came out, and Maria Elena in tears, and the subheadline was, "He never called." So the last time Maria Elena was here, I said, "Maria, you got to tell me that story, and you got to sign this for us." And she says the story was Buddy always called when he got to a venue, and Buddy always called when he left a venue. What I was saying, he never got to the next venue.
You've shown us a lot of pretty incredible artifacts already. This is one of those goosebump
It is. It
inducing
is definitely
displays.
a goosebump.
Yeah.
This is one of the first things that people want to see. Show us the phone when they come to the surf. And it's just one of those things that you can close your eyes and you can sit in that wooden booth on that wooden bench and pick that phone up, and it takes you back.
Let's walk into the ballroom.
Club. And so we'd be walking out on the pavilion here, okay, and looking out at the ocean. You can see the back walls have these murals along the walls, original art. Those were covered up by the time the Snyders had purchased it, but they uncovered them and refurbished them, and a lot of neon light throughout the whole ballroom. Hardly any of that was working when they bought it, so they refurbished all that. So you come out on the pavilion, you look out at the dance floor, and the dance floor is varnished, so it looks like it's a sand beach. And you come out on the dance floor, and you can dance under the deep blue sky.
Yeah.
So the big dark blue barrel roof is above your head, and we have the original 1948 cloud machines here that cascades during the show when the lights are down. It's a little more challenging today because we have a lot of production in the ceiling, but when the lights are turned down, there'll be clouds cascading above your head, and it's so fun to be able to be here and have people that have been here a long time come and say, you know, I had my first kiss here at the Surf Ballroom, or I danced with my wife the first time at the Surf Ballroom, or I met my wife in booth 214 and we started dating. There's just so many memories. Even guys that were in World War II have come in and told the stories about, you know, I was in overseas and I jumped into a foxhole and there was somebody next to me that was from Garner and I was from Belmont, and the one thing that we had in common was we talked about the Surf Ballroom. And as we departed each other that day, he said to me, he said, hey, when we get home, I'll see you at the Surf on Saturday night. And this is that one thing that really binds all of North Iowa together. It's not only the billing, but it's the music and it's the history. We find that when the economy gets a little bit soft and gets a little bit tough, our business stays pretty solid, because people maybe don't want to spend all the money to go to Disney World or go to Cancun, but by golly, they sure want to still come to the Surf. And this is a meeting place, and it's just a wonderful place.
I can imagine it's such a thrill to perform on that stage. But I want to visit the green room. Can we walk back there? Yep. I'll also mention that when you visit the Surf, you should visit the restrooms, because they are also restored, and I can just imagine them full of women with full skirts checking their lipstick in the mirror, and it really is a time capsule.
Yeah, it really is, and we'll even have artists take pictures in the men's restroom. Normally the women's restroom that gets all the attention, but in the men's restroom, and I can't...
I haven't been in there, Jeff.
Well,
I don't know.
We'll go in if you want.
Okay. Just to the left of the stage, we are walking into the historic green room. Not quite as swanky as the green rooms next door now, but these walls are just covered with signatures. And if you spend any time at all, you start to see signatures of people that you know well, like the Temptations. This is so cool. Do you have favorite signatures?
Well, I do. And at one point, the Des Moines Register did a panoramic out here, so you could type in a signature and then it would come right in here. Some of my favorite ones are the Crickets here. J.I., Joe B., Gordy Payne, Keith Allison. There's Albert Lee, and then of course the Valens family. And then the other one, which was one of my favorite nights, was when Waylon Jennings was here back in 1996.
Wow.
And that was an incredible night. We had a sold-out crowd, and Waylon and I stood right on that stairway there, and we talked about going on stage. And he walked on stage, and he said, the last time I was here with Buddy Holly. He said Buddy had taken me under his wing. I learned, there isn't a day that goes by that I still don't think about Buddy Holly. And he says, and that's all I'm going to say about that. And he played a 2-hour show, and it was just absolutely amazing.
Before we move on, I mean, obviously a lot of historic things happened at the Winter Dance Party here in the green room, but one of the most haunting is that coin toss between Ritchie Valens and Tommy Alsop for the final seat on the plane. Jeff, can you tell me that story?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting story. And essentially what happened is Tommy Alsop had a seat on the plane. And they actually just loaded up a station wagon. Carol Anderson, who was the manager of the Surf at the time, took them out to the airport. And they got everything in, and Tommy, I need to remember that term, but Tommy was the guy that was supposed to be in charge of all the little stuff and all the, making sure everything got on the bus and in the station wagon. So at each stop. And so Buddy turns to Tommy Alsop and says, hey, go back in one more time and check and make sure we got everything. So Tommy Alsop comes in, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a feeling of what it was that night, because we got a big blast of cold air coming at us. Tommy Alsop comes in here, and as he gets in here, Ritchie Valens is over here signing autographs with fans. And he hears the door open and turns, and he'd been bugging for that last seat on the plane all night. And he said, for some reason, he said, can I have your seat on the plane one last time? And Tommy said, for some reason I decided, well, let's flip for it. And so he got out a coin and he flipped the coin, and right here, and Ritchie won the toss, and of course, because of it, lost his life. Yeah. And so Ritchie went out and got in the car and went to the airport. So let's go on stage, walk up on stage a minute. We're going to walk in on the stage of American music.
Right here is where the original stage was.
All right, so the stage has been built out further.
So this follows the curve of the original stage, as does the marquee and the curtain. So you can see exactly where they would have stood that night, where the bands would have played. If you stand on this stage behind that curve, you will get the same view that Buddy and Ritchie and the Bopper had that night in 1959.
Wow.
Buddy would have stood right here, and Tommy Alsop and Waylon Jennings would have been on both sides of him. We've had to extend the stage a couple of times. The last time was, and I wasn't involved in the surf or in this show, was for Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper needed a little extra room out in front. And to be perfectly honest, we don't have enough stage and enough production at the Surf here to do some of the shows that we do, but artists want to play here. And so there'll be times when they're on a tour and they make a stop here, and they'll have 3 or 4 buses or semis full of gear, and they only use 1 or 2 of them, but they want to play here. And the feeling that these artists, some of them don't understand it, but you either get it or you don't. The ones that really get it look out and look at those portraits out there above the dance floor and really understand where they are in the history of this place. My favorite story is when we had Kevin Costner play here. Kevin Costner toured with a band called the Modern West. And I sometimes get emotional about it because it's so poignant, is he said, "I know where I am and I know why I am here." He said, "I've had a lot of great things happen to me in my life, and I consider being here at the Surf is one of them." And of course, the crowd just melted, and he had him in the palm of his hands, you know. That's what happens when you get somebody that really understands what the Surf Ballroom is.
So we could spend hours here as well, and the Surf Ballroom is packed with rock and roll memorabilia. You should definitely go to the lounge and look at all of the amazing treasures in the lounge. But before we wrap up today, Pete, what do you want people who come to the Surf to leave with?
So, as many people already know, the Surf Ballroom and this stage is holy ground. People come from across the state, across the country, around the world, and they come because they know that this is a sacred place. This is the heartbeat of rock and roll, and even though those 3 stars and their pilot left us far too early, this is a place where the beauty and the heart and soul of rock and roll will always live. And these are the boards that any musician, any fan, any singer wants to stand on and be in the same footsteps as those 3 stars.
Pete, thank you so much for talking with us and showing us around today. Jeff, we're not done with you yet, so hang on a few minutes. I've been talking with Pete Potts. She is Director of Marketing and Public Relations at the Surf Ballroom in Clear Lake. And we're going to step outside and talk about another really special place near Clear Lake.
Dearest, though you're the nearest to my heart, please don't ever say we'll part.
We have left the Surf Ballroom now, and we have driven outside of town with Jeff Nicholas. I mentioned, of course, that he's president of the North Iowa Cultural Center and Museum. He's also a farmer who owns the land where the crash happened. And Jeff, when you were working this land as a teenager, driving up and down in a tractor, pulling out stones, you had no idea that the plane crash had happened here.
Yeah, I had no idea. And that event was one of the things, you talk to some old timers, and it wasn't Clear Lake's finest hour. And so the people in Clear Lake and North Iowa kind of wanted to get things zipped up and cleaned up and everybody on their way and kind of put it out of our minds. And really the music did die for a brief moment. Now, the music didn't die at the Surf Ballroom. We're going to where the music died, the spot that the music died. So in the 70s, Don McLean's song American Pie comes out, and they start having the tributes to Buddy Holly and the guys. And there was a fan from Green Bay, Wisconsin that started doing the research. He did the research, and he comes out and he says, this is where it happened. This is where the plane crashed.
And it was on your land.
It was on our land, and I had no idea that anything...
How did you feel when you found that out?
You know, it's kind of surreal, actually. Number one, that we didn't know anything about it for all those years. And, you know, it's one of the great musical tragedies that's ever occurred. And so we feel very... I'm not sure what the word even is, but we
You're stewards. You're stewards of this.
Yeah, we're stewards of this spot, and so we've left a little strip where we don't plant anything, and this Ken Paquette made some monuments out there, and it's an absolutely amazing and emotional spot for so many people. That I get people that I stop and visit with out here, and I'll say, oh, have you been to the Surf? And they've never even heard of the Surf. They wanted to come here to the place the music died. And then, of course, once they go to the Surf, they get the whole story. It just enhances everything. But, yeah, this is an incredible spot. Lots of people walk out here arm in arm in tears. A lot of people remember where they were when they heard the news.
Well, it's a cold January day, but let's walk out there.
Let's do it. And you know what? This kind of gives you the idea and the feel of what it was like that night back in 1959.
We've tromped out at least a quarter mile out into a frozen field with some ice and snow. And here we are. It's a really simple memorial to the men who died that night. What does it mean to you, Jeff?
Well, this was the first great rock and roll tragedy, and although we as a family didn't ask for it, and Clear Lake as a community didn't ask for it or didn't want it, we have it. And so I think what I am most proud about is how the community has embraced the celebration of the music and the life and the times of Buddy, Ritchie, and the Bopper. And I will not leave out Roger Peterson. There's a small marker for Roger Peterson, who was the pilot that night, a local Clear Lake kid. And he didn't want to give up his life either. And these things happened, and so we're kind of done mourning. Let's be honest, we're done mourning. The world's done mourning. It's time to move on. And so we've always been about celebrating. And so it means a lot to us to be able to continue to present this to the music fans and the American public. And I've had a lot of great conversations with people out here, and it's been a big part of my life.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for sharing the story, and thank you for doing so much to preserve this history and this story, and being so generous with the fans and the music lovers who come from all over the world. That's a beautiful legacy for you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored to be able to do it, and it's been you take a tragedy and you turn it into something special.
This episode of Talk of Iowa was produced by Samantha McIntosh with help from our digital producer, Natalie Dunlap. You'll also be able to see pictures and videos from our visit on IPR's website and social media. This is Talk of Iowa from IPR News. I'm Charity Nebbe.
Oh, well, you know my love and not